welcome to Cover Story. We're joined by one of my most favorite guests, Dr. Subramanian Swamy, who hasn't been with us for a very long time, and I know you're going to blame me for it. But also, you've had a very hectic schedule, Dr. Swamy.
Yes.
But good to have you back, and lots to talk about. But first of all, I'm going to congratulate you on your upcoming book. I believe it's on the economy.
Yes, Indian economy. It's sent it to the printer only today.
So I've got you at the right time.
Yes,
when you are.
I've completed the book, yeah.
And it's due out when?
It should be out by end of August, first week of September.
So I'm going to hold you to a promise to talk to me about the book once it's out.
Yes, you get a copy of the book.
And I want you along with the copy.
Yes, sure, certainly.
Okay, more on the, you've been somebody who's been closely observing the economy, one of the unsung heroes of the liberalization story, in fact, from Chandrasekhar days.
Yeah.
How do you see where we are, the growth trajectory and where we are now?
Well, first I would like to make clear that I have a dilemma when I speak on this matter. Because one side, I am being a professor of economics. I have a PhD from the world's most famous university. I've worked with
that is Harvard, for those who don't know.
Yes, and I've worked with Nobel laureates who are considered the equivalent of Einstein in economics. Simon Kuznets, who invented the GDP, is father of national income. He's called father of the national income. And then
now you're working with the government that's reinventing the GDP.
That's the part where I'm saying the dilemma.
Okay.
And then the other part is a multidimensional genius called Paul Samuelson, who also both are Nobel laureates. And I was his joint author. Okay, there were very few people who joint authored with him, and I joint authored in a subject which is very relevant again for economics that we know today, and that is called index numbers. And the theory of index numbers. I mean, it was a classic paper. It's now considered the paper to read for index numbers because all the solutions are there. So if I'm loyal to my profession, I can't be loyal to the party. And vice versa. So I'll have to do some rope walking, tightrope walking.
But yeah, we'd like to see you in your role as the Harvard professor more than...
First of all, I'll say that between 1950 and 1990, when we followed the Soviet economic model, we could not cross 3.5% per year in GDP growth. The growth rate was that. And it was all due to the fact that we followed the Soviet Union's leftist policies. And the leftists in India, to hide that, they used to call 3.5% growth rate as a Hindu rate of growth. The Hindus always go slow, they cannot go fast. In 1990, Chandrasekhar became Prime Minister after I persuaded Rajiv Gandhi to support him. And it took me a little time to convince Chandrasekhar that he should accept the offer, because he was queasy about doing this kind of thing. He had to leave Janata Dal of VP Singh and do it. But I told him VP Singh himself is somebody who is a leftist party and joined Janata.
Correct, huh? So
you leaving Janata and you're not leaving Janata, you're going to be part of Janata Party, but you have an alliance with, alliance is nothing, it doesn't make you a man who changes party. So finally we formed the government, then we decided to start reforms, give up socialism and go in for market and so on. Now, the growth rate, which was for 40 years, 1950 to
89, I guess.
90, yeah, almost, or 89, was 3.5% per year. Suddenly started rising year, and then Narasimha Rao took it up from our government, and in fact adopted all my reforms, which is there in his biography now, that how he came to my house and caught me and took me to his house, and he wanted me to join Congress, which I declined to do. I said, I can't join Congress, it's a family-owned property.
But you were very on good terms with Rajiv at that time.
Rajiv was also put a lot of pressure. He, in fact, he once called a press conference to announce. I told him, no, after elections. But then after elections, he was dead. But Rajiv had been there, I might have. merged the Janata Party with Congress. But at that time, Sonia Gandhi was nowhere. But once she came on the scene, I knew that there's no place for people like me in Congress. So anyway, the fact is that the growth rate went up to 8%. And this is because of reforms. Now, since 2014, I thought we will bring about major economic reforms. But almost everybody told me I was going to be finance minister. I thought this is a natural choice. But when the morning when the phone calls were to come, didn't come. And a man who didn't know anything of economics, Mr. Jaitley,
so it was a political choice rather than...
political choice. Also, I think if you have this crazy idea, or this bad idea, I would say, that you want to manage people, and the people should listen to you, you can always persuade people, but I worked with Moraji Desai, I worked with Chandrasekhar, I worked with Narasimha Rao. They knew that once my mind is made up, they would not interfere. But Modi's style is that, the way he's treating ministers and so on, the way the ministers talk to me about how it is, he is basically a micromanager.
Yeah, it's a one-man show, or two-man.
Yeah, no, that also is only one man. He listens. Amit Shah will always listen to Modi in the end. So I don't know whether I would have fitted in that kind of thing, because I had very radical ideas. I wanted to abolish income tax and so on. Today the situation is that we are suffering because no new structural reforms have been brought. And the same old thing of piling taxes. You see, the tax is an out-of-date instrument. It was all right in the 19th century and the early 20th century. But today we need other methods of revenue collection. One very far ahead, not today, we can't do it today because we are not ready for it. But in the future, all taxes can be abolished, and all you do is put a 0.5% tax on banking transactions. And the money comes from the banks. For every transaction, they will put aside 0.5% for the government. So that will be 4 times the revenue you are generating today.
You widen the tax net.
There's no tax.
Yeah.
In transaction, it gets buried in the transaction. And transaction tax, it's called transaction tax, but we are not ready for it yet, because...
Is any country doing this?
Well, then there is when there is monetization of the economy, where everybody does monetary taxation. Everybody does it through the bank, not outside the bank. Then it's a tax which you can... anyway. So what I would say in short is that my book shows why from 1870 to 2019 we have not yet been able to transform ourselves into what we were once upon a time, the most prosperous country in the world. So in 1870 to 1947, clear, the British was taking all our resources and running away with it. I would estimate about $75 trillion in current prices is what the Britain stole from India. So India was completely depleted. Then 1950 to 1990, when the Soviet model was there, Soviet model was designed to extract resources from agriculture and put it in industry. But the British, through Zamindar system, had depleted the agriculture. So what we need today is how to incentivize the people to do the right thing. For agriculture, we must give first priority. Why? Because it's the only sector where we can rule the roost globally. Our agricultural products are the cheapest in the world. And wheat, rice, milk, fruits, all these things we can export. And you don't have to give subsidies once you export, because the prices you will get is basmati price quality in Japan is sold 6 times the price you charge in India. Same thing wheat. The American wheat is 4 times more expensive than our vegetables. And we can also produce huge amount because we are not yet been able to tap the productivity of land. We are still 1 crop per season when we can grow 3 crops a season. So I have said the reform should be number 1, agriculture as the lead sector.
That's interesting at a time when people are saying focus on move away from agriculture.
2, the second thing which should be there in the budget and is not there is innovations, because you have got the youngest population between the ages of 15 and 35.
Correct.
In the world. Average age of the Indian population is only 26 years. America is 37. China is 35. Britain and European countries are 46. Japan is 50. They are all aging populations. Whereas this population should have been, the education sector should have been so developed by tax incentives, this, that, land, that we should have had, in every district we should have had an IIT. Every district we should have an All India Medical Institute. And we should have encouraged private sector to get into it in a big way. But we wanted control. Even today, IITs, they are controlled by government. So I myself was an IIT professor, and Mrs. Gandhi had to just give one statement. Such a man like Dr. Swamy should not be in a government institution, and I was dismissed. Of course, I won the case after 47 years.
Recently, in fact, yes.
But then, others would have left for America. I said, no, I will not leave for America.
But see, this budget, you don't see it doing, because they are trying to say PSU disinvestment, they've encouraged startups.
Say disinvestment. What is this disinvestment? They are selling family silver.
Huh.
Why you are selling Air India?
You're against Air India sale. But what
No,
are you doing with it?
I will go to court if they sell.
But why? Well, they're doing nothing with it, so you might...
No, Air India has lots of... First of all Indians prefer Air India.
Because
we are going back. Yeah, because our people are familiar with our cultural... they are cold animals in foreign airlines, you see. Whereas our people require the parents, this thing, we are totally... And so they are, despite everything about Air India, it's packed. And all the profitable routes were given away during the UPA period to other airlines. And you just went on all the places where, now if you go to America today, you go to Dubai and then catch Emirates and go to America, or go to the Abu Dhabi and then go by Etihad. So, I mean, Indian traffic has been siphoned off in a very large way. And of course, I'm fighting court cases. But Air India has one other attribute which we can't say publicly, but I can. You want to send 6 RAW agents for an operation abroad. Can you send them on a private airline for a foreign country? Can't do that.
Correct.
You want to send some confidential, papers. Would you be able to trust a foreign airline for it? There are certain operations for which you need, in a country like India needs a government-owned airline.
And this plan of raising money through sovereign bonds, there's been a lot of both sides on it.
We are not ready for it. If we do it now, we will be in trouble. You see, first of all, your non-banking financial corporations, they're all in a mess. Because when the banks were having all these NPAs, money was being given by people who are putting it in the NBFC. And now suddenly, the interest rates are such that the NBFC is unable to pay. So we have a major financial system collapse in the near future. I wrote about it from 2016 in the Hindu newspaper, op-ed, which I have to give Hindu credit. They had the guts to publish because it was anti-government. I said, this is not the way to do it. There is a question in economics of macroeconomics and microeconomics. And Prime Minister doesn't know the difference because he has not been trained in economics. No one who is not trained formally in economics can know the difference. The reason I'm making that distinction is in microeconomics, demand and supply will tell you how prices move. If the demand increases, the prices will increase. If the demand falls, the prices will have to fall if you want to sell. But in macroeconomics, if the demand rises, then the resources from other sectors come into and produce a supply. Or if I raise interest rates, what will happen is small and medium industries will go out of business because their cost of capital will go up. Right. And it will cause unemployment. In America, depression took place because the American president thought that if he reduces the wage rates by persuading the companies, the trade unions, then people will employ more. But actually people employed less because once you reduce wages, then the purchasing power also goes down.
Correct. Yeah.
Demand also goes down, and therefore you go out of business. That means unemployment.
So this taxing the super rich will follow the same logic?
It is. Nobody can in this country tax the super rich. They will bribe the income tax officer.
So in the end it's...
it. Yeah. So the only solution for the tax problem is abolition of income tax and collect the tax by other means like 2G spectrum auction, coal blocks.
Now there's a 5G spectrum happening.
Now, yeah, because you will always get 1, 2, 3, 4, it will go on.
Right.
2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, and 6G is already there, is on the research annual.
Already.
Already. So you will never have shortage of that. Coal blocks. I mean, you get how much for out of the income tax revenues you got, you will get 6 times more by auctioning coal blocks.
Transparent auction.
Just auction them. And there are many other things to be auctioned. Then you have to go for innovations like desalination of seawater. There will be no shortage of water. When the Tamilian newspapers asked me, are you on side of Karnataka or side of Tamil Nadu on this Kaveri water? So I said, first you must answer whether you want Kaveri water or you want water. Because if you want water, I'll desalinate water and give you the water. Correct. But if you want Kaveri water, I can't give you because there's no water to give. So India needs innovation, for which India has got a younger generation. For that you must give them world-class education, which is very easy to do. Indian professors world over are giving world-class education to other countries, but not to India.
So we're going to take a break, but we've got a fair idea of what a Swamy budget might look like, and of course an introduction to his book that is coming up. But after a break, I'm going to talk to him a little bit about politics. So stay with us. Hello and welcome back to Cover Story. Well, if you've been watching the first half of this show, you'll know why most of us would like to see Dr. Swamy as the finance minister. First of all, no taxes. But to get back to, not get back, but can we talk a bit about politics also, Dr. Swamy? Yes. Recently, we've seen this letter written by 49 liberals to the Prime Minister. You, of course, said throw it in the dustbin.
Yes.
But that's not really the right answer, is it? Because what they've raised is they've raised some pertinent points. They're saying, they're not saying...
did they raise it when the Sikhs... were butchered in a genocide in 1984.
But that's not an argument that
I agree,
coming
it's not
from
an
you.
argument.
Yeah.
But it is this much that, first of all, I had looked at their letter. In one place, they are covering a period from January 2009 to 2018. That means the UPA period has also been included in that.
Which should make you happy?
It shouldn't make me happy because they are saying it is all happening because of our government.
No, they are saying have a stricter law.
You can't have a stricter law than already we have.
So implement that.
I mean, yeah. So tell me which, now this Sona the massacre. Now what it turns out to be Akhilesh's cronies who have done it. Okay, so then somebody shouts Jai Shri Ram. Now, Therefore, Ram has been converted by whom? There will always be riffraffs who will do this. You have to show a nexus between the BJP government and these incidents. They are doing it by innuendos. All right. I say 5 years I asked the Muslim population, has there been a single communal riot in the country? Has there been a Hashimpura incident? I don't know whether you know, but I was the only one who went to court. The UP PSC picked up 42 boys from Mohalla, took them, and that was Mr. Chidambaram, was the Minister of State for Home Affairs, so that's why I took interest. They took them to 20 kilometers and shot them one by one and threw them into the river to create terror so that the communal riots would stop. Now, I had to go to court. Nobody came. And finally, we in the High Court, we got relief. And they were given compensation. But now, I want this to be treated as a genocide. Sikhs, Hashimpura. I mean, I can give you instances after instances.
Fair enough. No, instances are fine. But the fact is, let's deal with the now.
If the letter did not have that sting, irrelevant sting of saying Jai Shri Ram, and the wordings are such as if this is all happening now.
Okay, so what is your idea of, how would, because there has been, the way you see Ram, because there is, we're seeing these angry Hanuman posters that are coming up. Why is this suddenly very angry God that is being portrayed in the last 3 or 4 years?
We don't know who's doing it, but I would say that it should be found out, taken to its logical conclusion, because there is a gap. I remember in the beginning of our term, of the Narendra Modi government term, there was something in Faridabad in Haryana. Dalit family has been burnt alive, and the people who did it were BJP. Later on, it turned out that one section of the Dalit family, in order to grab the property of the other section, they burnt it. But they never, no FIR is ever. Many of these incidents happen when people in the opposition are in power. I mean, the current opposition. Take, for example, Muzaffarnagar. Akhilesh was in power. How we are responsible? I mean, somebody says Jai Shri Ram, you have to say that this man is, and prosecute him. Nobody stopped Akhilesh from prosecuting the local MLA, which all the TVs were showing. I think there is a targeting of the BJP, which is part of the international racket.
So I heard you say that they are doing this to raise, to
get attention from the West.
But speaking of the West, also this latest Donald Trump comments on Kashmir. What is your reaction to that?
First of all, I know Modi from 1972. He never would say something like this. This is the cause. The nationalism is so much drilled into Swayamsevak, and he was a pracharak on top of that. So I cannot see him saying this. Second, unless you produce a record, I can't say that the US President doesn't embroider the truth. He's got, today I saw on CNN that Mueller is practically saying that the man lied under oath. And every day the CNN says he's a liar. He's a very dynamic man. I admire him for his decision making, and I think we should work with him.
Yeah, that's my question to you. You were one of those who I remember.
Yeah, I supported him. I still support him.
So how do you see the Modi-Trump equation then? It's not as
that is individual level. I think Prime Minister should go meet him rarely. When he meets him, promises he makes, he must implement, because Trump is not only an American, but he's also a businessman. And in America, I'm telling you, if you make an oral commitment, you keep it. I found in my dealings of 10 years I was there, everything that was orally promised to me was delivered. Otherwise, your reputation goes. So we have promised them so many things and we are not. We said we will take over Afghanistan, we have not. There you said, yes, you will see that the American load is lightened. But here, Nirmala Sitharaman's defense minister ticked off their defense minister. He went off in a huff. So then you are saying we are interested in what? Pacific, Indo-Pacific. Then you tell him, why don't you include China when the whole Indo-Pacific idea is against China?
Okay.
So how can you include China? Then on top of that, you say you're going to buy weapons from China, America, you want F-35, which they're reluctant to give, but thinking of giving. Then you go and buy this S-400 from Russia.
And the whole Iran equation.
Iran is something which I have a different view. I think if the Iranians can say that they have given up this crazy idea that Holocaust never took place and Israel is to be wiped out from the face of the earth, I think it's possible for America and of course Israel to do business with them. Iran is a Shia country and we Hindus have a soft corner for Shia. So I wouldn't like to be pushed around with by Trump on Iran. You do your bit, tomorrow you will change. One day you are against Taliban, next day you are negotiating with them.
Correct.
One day you are fighting the Vietnamese and then you just hand it over and run away.
Fair enough.
So Americans are cost-benefit analysis people. We are sentimental people. So there is a basic lack of symmetry in our approaches. But we have to understand America is a grand country for innovations. America is a prosperous country, it's a democracy, and we must have good relations with them.
Well, and let's see where that goes. But that's it. I think we're totally out of time. So thank you for talking to us and hope to catch you again soon. Well, that's it from us now. We'll see you again same time next week.